Okay, we're in business. We're recording. Kelly, welcome to the now named podcast called Quadcast. It's official. We've done it, and I'll go into more detail about what Quadcast means, what it stands for, at a later date and time. But for now, Kelly, go ahead and introduce yourself, who you are, where you're located, and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Kelly, Kelly Grazdan, but everybody knows me as Kelly G.
Hmm.
I am in Austin, Texas. I'm a personal trainer and a nutrition coach. I like to more emphasis on personal trainer. I've actually trained under you as your client before,
You have.
which I've learned from you. You're a great trainer, and that's my favorite way to learn. So,
Thank you.
yeah, I've been a trainer for about 10 years now. This is my 10th year as a personal trainer. And yeah,
For the longest time, I thought the G was for gangster.
it is.
Oh,
It is. That's
that
yeah.
makes more sense. Okay, okay.
Slash G string. It's my
It's
porn
just
star name.
slash G
Kelly G
string.
string.
Hey. Well, you said you've been training for about like 10 years and you've learned a lot from various coaches and this that. Like talk to me about w- since you've been training for 10 years, I'm gonna guess some things have happened over the course of 10 years, like COVID. Possibly switching from like working for a corporate gym, working for yourself, maybe partnering with somebody or something like that. Like talk to us about like your journey while working in the industry.
Yeah. So I did not know what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I still don't. So I went to college at Texas State and I graduated early because I didn't want to be in debt, and I got a degree in public relations with a
Okay.
minor in communications. But like along the way, I fell in love with group fitness and taught group fitness and was like, man, I don't want to change my degree. So I tried some like real jobs. And then I said, okay, let me just try this personal training thing, get it out of my system. And then I fell in love with it. So I started
Hmm.
at 24-hour fitness in Austin, Texas, which is technically how we met each other. We were both in that 24-hour fitness world. And yeah, I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. I just knew that I liked working out, and I thought that, oh yeah, like it's a guaranteed successor, right? Like
Hmm.
people come in wanting to feel better, and they're going to leave with endorphins. So they're automatically going to feel better, and then they're going to look better, and then their lives are going to be better, and there's no loss to this jump. No, it's a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. So the pandemic had a huge impact. I loved working at 24-hour fitness. I loved having the team and having a place to call work. I never wanted to start my own business, but COVID gave me no choice. So I started my own, which was mainly just outdoor stuff and trying to go inside CrossFit gyms and be like, can I just use this space because it's free flowing air? And I've jumped around a couple different gyms, and now I'm back to running my own business in a private personal training gym. Um, and I
Do you want
really
to
enjoy it.
do you want to share where you're at now as well for so anyone can find you?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm at the Strength Warehouse. It's in North Austin. It's a small personal training gym. It's very, very personal. So it may be me and maybe one to two other trainers with their clients. A lot of times it's just me and my client. And I love that little like intimate space. But we've got the entire gym to ourselves, and it's a very personalized experience. And I love it.
Hmm. Okay. Sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
No, you're good. So yeah, so I mean, it's the best part about this job is you're always learning, and half the time you're learning from yourself, which is something I really like. I'm not a books person.
Hmm.
I think the hardest part was how much I dodged science classes and anatomy and physics, and then I realized, oh crap, that's all my job is. But it's a very emotional experience with people, getting in their bodies and learning how to use their body. It's very much me using my own body to try and teach others how to connect to theirs. And that's a big part of training for me, is just it's kind of that meditative experience of being very present in what you're doing and how you're connecting with your body.
Hmm. Meditative experience. I like that. I like that. So just to wrap up, you said you've essentially over 10 years, loves work for 24 Fitness. You've had your own business, worked with a couple of places, and now you're working for yourself again.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully, the people who work with you as you're working for yourself spread the good word that you do what you do and you do it well. What I want to talk about next, or ask you next, is so 10 years is a lot of time within the industry. Like you said, you've worked with a lot of people, you have a unique approach. You even talked about having uh I've never heard of someone mention like your fitness practice or like your training session as kind of like a meditative like experience. So I kind of wanted to ask you like, would you consider yourself, since you work for yourself, someone who has like a unique specialty, a unique approach, a unique perspective with regards to how you view what you do or your coaching style?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that, I mean, one, I'm a big communicator. I think that is the basis of training is this is very much, I can give as much or as little as somebody needs. I will only give what somebody's capable of doing. So it's very
Hmm.
collaborative in the approach. I don't give them anything they can't handle. So we come together and say, what can you do and what are you actually willing to do and what's realistic? So SMART goals, specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely.
Let's go.
Um, and movement based like goals also are really important. I think a lot of times we do get hyper focused on what the externals look like, or whether that's on the scale or body fat percentage or how clothes fit us. But a lot of times just being able to see progress, whether it's getting stronger in a bench press or being able to do a push up successfully, like having those goals kind of connected together makes a big deal for me. I along the way had learned a lot of things about myself in this personal training journey too, as I was kind of like raised as a dancer, very flexible. I thought that was just like a cool skill I'd obtained as a kid, which I later found out was actually a it's called dysautonomia. Essentially is I have something called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. So it's basically a nervous system disorder where essentially my ligaments and tendons are too flexible. If you watch my
Too
elbows, they
stretchy.
bend backwards, too stretchy. So I realized where some people naturally their muscles would just flex in these positions. I learned, I've never thought about that. I have to actually think. And then in doing so, I saw bigger changes in my body and realized maybe others didn't realize like you need to think while you're doing the thing, not just what the shape looks like, but how you're engaging the muscles and learning together that mind and muscle connection. And so a lot of how I train is what do you feel? Where do you
Mm.
feel that? And I warn everybody, I'm like, I'm going to ask you. It's not a trick. It's okay if you don't. I'll tell you where to feel it. And that's just because we don't have this full like connection to our bodies for everybody either. Some people may have, a little dissociation from like certain parts of their body and they may not know how to actually use those muscles. So it's really important for me to get people back into their bodies and learning how to use it. And I think in a world that moves so fast with so many distractions, it's really nice to have one thing to focus on for an hour, which is yourself. And that's
Mm.
very much how I train is that I'm like, if we can only take 1 hour to focus on one thing right now, let's just focus on what you're doing in this moment. And I'm not a big meditator. I've tried it so many times. ADHD is a bitch. It doesn't like it. But strength training is meditative for me in that way, where it's like I can only focus on the tempo in which I'm doing something, then control I have in that movement. And then I've got a designated rest time where I can sit and just catch my breath and then prepare for the next thing,
Mm.
which I think applies to life and its stressors, right? It's like put yourself under stress, take a beat, relax, put yourself under stress and adapt those adaptive qualities.
That's a very unique, interesting approach. So essentially, you prefer that the people you work with be embodied, and that's not something I've ever heard before or that people have ever mentioned as far as an approach and or training style. So I like this. I
Oh,
like this a
good.
lot. Um, so I know your background, and I'd be following you on social media, that you've kind of had this like huge experience, and it kind of plays into what you talked about earlier with the nervous system disorder that you first had. And you've had some life experience and life changes specifically about the knee and your CRPS. So I'd want you to talk about how or if even learning about your first neuromuscular issue has led to any changes in your ability to train or rehab your knee or led into any knowledge or experience with your CRPS.
Yeah, absolutely. So in June, I was on, or I have been on a recreational kickball league, and I was killing it as the first baseman for years until I tore my ACL and meniscus.
Oh.
When you're 33 years old and all of a sudden your age catches up, it's real rough. Um, so I've never broken anything. I've never torn anything. Like I didn't really know an injury. So it was kind of a weak spot in my training is being able to connect to people who'd had actual injuries. This has taught me a lot on way more fronts than I thought it would. So I had ACL and meniscus surgery in July. And then immediately following that, I was diagnosed with a very rare disease called CRPS or complex regional pain syndrome, which that's actually technically where I got my official diagnosis for the hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Mm.
But and because of that, it's a nervous system disease. CRPS impacts 0.029% of the population, and doctors like read one little paragraph about it. All of them do, and then all of them forget it exists because it's such a rare percentage of people it happens to that it's hard to get the right diagnosis for it. So basically, it another name for it is called the suicide disease because it is
Damn.
10 out of 10 pain. It is the highest rated pain disease on the McGill pain scale, which below that is getting your fingers and toes amputated without anesthesia.
Oh no.
um yeah, so it's pretty bad. So essentially it's a form of neuropathy, more or less, where my nervous system is sending the wrong signals to the wrong part of my body. It started sending it to my foot saying, your foot is on fire, remove it, it is an issue. And so once I was getting to a place where I was supposed to be able to walk again, my foot felt like pins and needles, like it was burning, and then it just got more and more uncomfortable to where the skin started changing color. Nothing could touch it anymore. Like I was in debilitating, like shaking, crying. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't function. It was kind of wrecking my life. So we went through a couple like lumbar sympathetic nerve blocks, and PT is basically practicing looking at your foot and trying to touch it to get it to like realize like it's not actually injured. But so like that put a big hindrance on my ability to train, which is a big thing. When my livelihood has now I can't stand, I can't walk, and I can't move.
Ugh.
So how am I supposed to make money? Which improved my skills as a trainer. I had to learn how to use words better. I can't just touch and
That
move people in the shapes.
that communication thing you was talking about. Yeah.
Almost like those of us who've done those Zoom trainings in the pandemic, we thought we got better. Then this one changed it. I was like, I
This
can't
one
even show you. You got to
this one
listen.
this one changed it. Oh man. Listen, I have to listen
Yeah.
close.
So with the CRPS, it is something that can go into remission. It will be something that lives in my nervous system now for the rest of my life. And that's because my nervous system already, right? If the normal people, here's cortisol, and like you got your stress hormone and then your balance, right? Most people kind of live here. They kind of teeter back and forth.
Hmm.
Because my body can't stabilize itself, my body has to go in a little bit higher dysregulated state because my muscles have to be turned on all the time to hold what my joints aren't doing.
Mm.
So then it made me realize, oh, I literally have to try even harder to connect to my muscles, which is harder on my nervous system to try and tighten everything and put everything in position. But also once you've had a tear to a muscle, that muscle doesn't know how to work anymore. It said we shut down. So, I'm like 6 months behind on an ACL training or like PT that I need to be doing, but we're doing better. We're getting there. I'm
Mm.
dedicated. And so, yeah, it's created this empathy for people that live in this state. A lot of people who have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome or HEDS, a lot of times they experience chronic body pain, tiredness, fatigue, low back pain. It's a lot like fibromyalgia, very similar in that way, where it's
Mm.
like your body kind of just hurts all the time. And it's a nervous system issue, right? It's like your body's sending signals of like it's exhausted and it's trying too hard all the time. So it holds constant tension in it. So it's been an area that I want to help people a lot more. And even with my physical therapist, we partnered up and I'm going to start helping people who have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that come to see her. And I'm going to start to train them and teach them how to do strength training most effectively for them. So we are not going to be the type who do burpees and we do sprints. We can't take extra intensity. Our lives are already sitting in a high stress like range. And so I think a lot of people have, their lives are also different. I work with a lot of people who have like interestingly hypermobile mobilities in weird places. Maybe it's their knees and their knees kind of bend backwards, or maybe it's they're like me and have weird elbows and shoulders. Mine's all throughout my entire body. So a lot of like cervical stability and like training how the neck can stabilize the rest of the body is a big part of it. But I'm just kind of excited for what this has taught me is like I can actually empathize with people who have knee pain for the first time in my life. Unfortunately, I can. But also helping people identify like how to regulate their nervous system through strength training, I think is really important and something I'm excited to work on more.
Regulation through strength training is great. There's a uh of course, Samara Witch King. We we work out with each other like frequently. We like to discuss like philosophy, like theories and stuff like that around like studies and various things that we read. We always talk about how, and I've never actually heard anyone else say it, about how strength can be like a regulation like tool, not just because you have that endorphin release, but essentially like understanding what it feels like for your nervous system to be like on high alert or on like high drive. A lot of his programming now involves a lot of like iso holds in a lot of various positions and like holding those positions for like an insane amount of time. So it's like you think you're strong, stay there. Show
Oh, I
me.
know. I train with him sometimes.
Are
He
you sure
actually
this
has
is
been trying to
okay?
help me with it, and I was just like, I can't. Why I this? How long do I have to hold this?
Uh,
Everything's shaking, and so, but it's been really good. I mean, it's crazy how much he integrates the like, and my physical therapist is this way too, is where it's just like the power of touch and the power of fascia and training fascial lines, as opposed to just being like, here's a muscle, this is your bicep, it does this. It's like, where else is that connected to, and how does that impact the rest of the chain? So I love working with Sumer, and he's worked with people who have CRPS, and so he
mm,
willingly offered to, give me some help. And so the scraping has been a big part of our training, and I find the
so
biggest
painful.
relief in scraping. But it's crazy because, right, like, it's when I'm doing it, we notice a difference in, right, a level of pressure he may start at, and I'm like, and he goes like, okay, and he goes real light, so that my body can start to adjust. And as I start, I'm like, okay, all right, that's fine. Then I start realizing I may not have noticed it, but he can go deeper on pressure, and I'm like, oh.
Mm,
But doing it with active range of motion versus, like, right, the passive stretching or passive foam rolling or passive scraping where you're just massaging the muscles, like, active makes such a big difference. Actually having to flex into positions while you're training that fascia, like stretch and like actively utilizing both ranges of motion, where I'm just like, oh, the nerves, I don't know anything about nerves. I'm a personal trainer. We learned muscles, dude. We didn't learn. I was like, where are nerves? What do they do? Superficial
that is
one.
a
There's one. We know the sciatic nerve, right, John? We're aware of that one.
we're aware of that one.
But I was
We
like, this is new. It's all new stuff, man.
well, I'm glad the Witch King's able to help you with that. I know, like, I haven't had that many people with like a lot of like nerve related issues. I've had one new guy who has, I think it's called Chiari malformation. He's the
What's
first
that?
person I've ever worked with that. But essentially, there's some birth defect that happens, like, and it causes swelling of fluid, like behind like your cerebellum, that then applies pressure to your sciatic nerve and the rest of your nerves, and like essentially like takes away like all sense of feeling. And he ended up like at one point in time he's had something like 13 brain surgeries. Like
Damn.
13 brain surgery. At one point in time he was a vegetable. He had to learn, he had
Wait,
to teach himself to walk and talk again. So dude is like highest order of gangster to me.
that's rad. Good for him. I mean, that's so scary. Surgeries are now terrifying to me. They were already scary. Now I'm done. I'm tapped out. I was like, nope,
No, I'm not
not doing it.
I'm going for the least surgical option that I can personally.
Right?
But essentially like he loses feeling in like his fingers, his hands, and his hips, and like a lot of stuff. He ended up coming to me because one of my clients is a physical therapist that worked with his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, look, he's not a physical therapist, but he's this guy. He doesn't live far from you, and like he's got like a unique approach that you might like. And so they ended up coming by. And I was like, hey, just once again, not a physical therapist, strength conditioning coach. That's my jam. I know enough about the nervous system to that I think I can genuinely help you, but you have to just know that like A, insurance does cover me, and B, this is not like necessarily like in my area of expertise. I just have knowledge that I think can help. And he's like, all right, cool. And so like we started working together, and now like he's essentially getting feeling back in his nerves. It's
Are they
just
like asleep yet? Do they feel
it
like
they're like numb, yeah, like they're like numb
yeah?
or asleep, and we're essentially like, hey, now, because I think like his PT, one of the PT exercises was like to try to get sensation back, and I was like, well, before we layer in like a coordination, how about we work on like let's just try to ramp up things to make sure like they're connected, or calming the nerve down to make sure it's okay. So like we've been doing like a lot of regulation and upregulation to see like what fits and what helps and what does the nervous system response best to. But it's been like a unique experience to
Yeah.
have to uh take my what I've learned and capacity like into like new heights. And so that's been like a fun issue thing. So I can't emphasize with what you're going through, obviously, because we went through like way more than what I'm going through. And uh what most people do as far as their nervous system. But like it's been interesting to learn and kind of do like a deeper dive like into it just to see what I've been going on with him.
What you're doing is right. And I think that's really awesome that you're getting some level of like feeling slash numbness when the pain starts to go away. The best way my physical therapist explained it to me, and I was kind of like, I was like, is it getting better? Is it ever going to get better? Like, I try not to be a like pessimist, but I'm so like impatient that I was like, is it fixed or not? But I told her, I was like, man, it's just like, it's annoying. Now my foot feels like it's like waking up, like it's like been asleep. And it's like, when you first get me like, oh, the uncomfortable, like walking through, like it's kind of pins and needlesy,
Right.
like slash kind of numb. But she was like, oh, that's really good. She's like, so
Yay.
she's like, you're getting through it. She goes, right? Because like when your foot's asleep, like you can't feel anything. It's just kind of like dead. And then you get the pins and needles. And then that feeling starts to go back to normal, but it takes a while with nerves. So what you're doing is awesome. I love
Well, thank
that.
you.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think that's great. I think that's also a luxury of our job. My physical therapist keeps pushing for me to go to physical therapy school, but I was like, but people come to me because they want to. Like, people don't want to go to physical therapy. I didn't want to. I do now. I love my physical therapist, but I think that's the thing, is that people see personal training from like a superficial standpoint, which kind of helps us
Mhm.
like lessen the intensity and the fear around it. We can admit that we don't know everything, and that's okay. And people can kind of blindly trust us versus going to somebody they expect is like, you have to fix me. So I kind of love that luxury of being a personal trainer. I don't know about you, but when somebody has pain, you're like, yes, let's just show you that you can accidentally fix it.
I would say like being being a quality coach as personal trainer, it's been fun because I didn't realize that I would be in a profession that like had to do with like a lot of problem solving, but like of the body. And that's kind of what I enjoy the most about, because if there's one thing I do enjoy doing, it's I enjoy learning. And this kind of like fields, this profession kind of requires you to, learn more and more like every day, right? You're just like,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone has like a different experience, different feeling, different sensation, and then you have to learn how to, upgrade, level up, or kind of help them or meet them where they're at. And it's also been cool because I'm a big science junkie, so like I read like a lot of studies in my free time because I'm a nerd. And so like it's been cool to see, because I used to like it used to be like every study I read was something new. I was like, this is new. Oh my God. This is new. Oh my God. But now it's been cool to see like the industry finally like solidify on like agreed upon body of work. So like for example, like it has now been agreed upon that like mechanical tension like um drives muscle building. Like, you don't need to, what's his name? His name is like, he's got a weird name, but I think his name is like his name on Instagram or his like business called like Functional Patterns, and like it's about like
Yeah,
training
yeah.
like fascia stuff like that, right? And he's like, why are you deadlifting? And it's like, oh, you deadlift so you can headbutt the other guy in the nuts from when you stand up, right? And it's like, or hear me out. Maybe you're someone who had a low back injury, and you're deadlifting to like essentially increase the tissue area loading of that area. So now like anything else they're exposed to outside of recession is insignificant to the point where like they're not going to feel pain, because that's what you want. Like no one wants to be in like
Yeah.
this insane amount of pain. So it kind of like, because it used to be kind of confused. There's always like different camps of like, I'm like, who's right? And it's like they're technically all right, or everything essentially like has its place. Um, there was like another person, or there's this one like camp in like fitness union. They like flip kettlebells and do like cool things with the kettlebells, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna hit myself in the face or break a foot, so I'm never gonna touch that. I don't have the coordination to
Uh-huh.
flip a kettlebell and grab it and know it's gonna be okay. But
Yeah.
like there was a 7-year-old lady doing like kettlebell flips. I was like, you know what? This 7-year-old lady used to sit on the couch. Now she's up here flipping kettlebells and doing like weird, cool, like with a kettlebell, right? I was like, and but this one guy's like, not everything has its place. We shouldn't just allow everything into fitness. I was like, that person's off the couch and moving. Let it have its place. That most people, majority of people, like we have like obviously like an obesity like epidemic here in the US. So like if it gets you off the couch, please go forth.
Just do it.
Just do it. I don't care
I
what.
tell everybody I believe in everything and nothing. And I
Everything
mean
in
that
the
on like everything in my life in terms of like spirituality. I believe in like all of the things. I think they're all true.
they'll all
I
be
also don't
true.
really fully believe in any of them, but I also believe in all of them. I think they're all true. Yes. I think
Hey,
the same thing with like squats, right? Like the knees over toes versus like knees
by
behind. I was like,
themselves.
they just train different things. Like they're not wrong. There's not one that's right, one that's wrong, one that's better, one that's worse. It's like we're just doing different things. I mean, I'm also the person you're probably going to see my 70-year-old man doing box jumps because I think that person needs to learn box jumps more than a 24-year-old does. I'm like, he needs to be agile. He's going to be the most likely and the most susceptible to falling and injuring himself. I need him to be
Mm,
prepared for life to come at him. I will throw agility at him because he wants to get better at tennis and pickleball.
let's go,
Like,
dude.
if he's having fun, who cares? He sees a difference in his game. We literally, I'm like, what was your score? How did you win? Let's break 80 this next year on your back on your golf game. Like, let's, because again, when you're 70 years old, you have all these other people coming at you saying, like, you need balance and mobility and core strength and flexibility and these, and he's like, okay. I said, but those don't mean anything to you. You don't matter. You don't care. Like,
Those
how do
don't
we
mean anything.
make your life better?
Those don't mean anything to you is probably like the most applicable slash foreign thing to someone that they probably didn't experience yet. It's like, you need these things. You don't want those things. You don't want to work on those things. Well, I'll incorporate them in-house somehow. I'm gonna slide them in there, unbeknownst to you. They're gonna be under your radar. But you, if I just gave you those things, you wouldn't do those things. Trust me.
Right. But if this guy, for example, I'm like, let's talk about your golf game. Where does your mobility bother you? Well, it kind of sucks to be reach down to pull the ball out of the hole. I said, we're doing single leg RDLs, bud.
Let's
Like,
go.
it looks a lot like we're picking up. He's like, well, I just see some people kick their leg back and they just grab it. I can't do that. I was like, single legs RDL. It's the same shape. We're recreating shapes.
Let's go.
You and I both learned from the Witch King. And I think that honestly, one of the most advantageous things that I learned was recreate the shape they're making so that you
Mm.
know what they're doing wrong. And I'll always have to tell them, like, hey, like, this is going to look really bad. Like, I know what it is. This isn't what you look like. Just give me a second so I can figure out what's happening. And then they see the shape I create while they're doing a lat pull down. And I'm like, okay, what are they doing? What's wrong here? And I'm trying to find my words. And then I'm like, okay. And they're like, okay, I see it. I see what you're doing. Let me fix that. I know exactly what you just did. And I was like, I didn't even tell you yet. I couldn't figure out the words. And they were like, I see what I was doing just watching you do that.
Just
And I was
watching
like, oh,
you.
thank you. I was like, I just recreated your shape. I don't know. But that was one of the most helpful things because everybody learns different. It's really important.
Hit him with the visual cue. There we go.
Yeah, man. Now that I can, now that I
Now,
can move again.
now that I can move again. Well, I'm glad you're able to move again and,
Oh,
back in a better place.
thanks.
Ooh, you kind of bled into a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But how does work like impact your personal life? How does it work bleed into your personal life? Do you, I mean, most people in our industry, someone argue that like, or in our industry, someone argue that they do not have a personal life. So what does life look like you for now post knee issues, post and while also working for yourself?
Yeah, I mainly didn't want to run my own business because I thought I would never be able to escape my job. And that's partially true. But I love it. So that's why I spend all my time like thinking about it and doing it. I'm very good at regulating my schedule and I communicate with my clients. Like my personal life is also important. So I have strict scheduling hours. I work Monday through Friday from 6 to like 2 p.m. That's all I
Mm,
do. And then my biggest thing is I had a hard time for a long time trying to be a human, um, also being a personal trainer. But I was like, I have to look like the person they're trying to be. Like I have to be the example. No, it's a lot easier to just be a human and be able to be relate, like to relate. And they saw that very much so when I was trying to train them from a computer chair. And it humanized me, and also it created a better like relationship. I'm not their therapist. There is no HIPAA protection in which I can't explain anything to my about my own personal life. I'm like, look, this is where I'm at, and this is I'm good. You'll watch me get better, but I literally have to sit here and I need you to try. And I had to lean on my coworkers a lot. At that time, I was working at Austin Simply Fit, and I had a great team. I really did like working there. They would be quick to be like, hey, do you need help with something? I was like, hey, can you show them this front foot elevated split squat for me with a 4010 tempo, please?
mm,
And so they would be my demo. I was like, okay, if somebody's too visual, I need somebody to show. But I personally, I think that if we see training for what it is and not what social media tries to make it is, we are trying to take care of our bodies for as long as we possibly can to live as long and as best as we possibly can. And that has changed my perspective a lot in this past year. It's not about just being super fit and toned and looking good on Instagram, which is a perk, but we all have filters now, so it's
mm.
fine. So we're good. We've already figured that one out. Thanks, AI. Um,
Adobe Photoshop. Let's go.
I don't know where they're getting some of those good, like how their waists are getting like this big. I can't figure out how to make my butt bigger yet. I haven't figured that one out. I was like that thing separate. That thing like was like volunteered as tribute after my knee
Oh,
surgery. It was like my butt was like we're out.
we're out.
But no,
No.
I think it's just like the beauty of it is that we can just be humans. Like my goal is to be upfront and be very direct. I am here for accountability. I'm here to teach you how to use your body. My goal is to teach you so that you've got the knowledge for the rest of your life. And you still hear the things like I hear from you and from, I love training with trainers. And I still think about the things that you've said with me. I remember, again, I told you too at some point, right? Like I was like, oh, I'm a dancer. I just really highly depend on like seeing myself in the mirror. You one time made me wear a blindfold while I did my squats because my hip kept bothering me. And we were like, no, don't look at it, feel through it. That was the most impactful thing because from there, I had nothing but feeling and had to maneuver around my own body. And that was huge. Like it made me realize like, oh no, it doesn't hurt when I don't see it. I don't know what's changing from that to that, but like that was huge. Like that's getting a little experimental, finding something that works with somebody. And you know, that's something that I've actually done with clients too, because of you.
Badass.
I've been like, all right, they've been doing you. I had a trainer do this to me one time. So here you go.
It's like, haha,
Um,
you get one of these now. Excellent.
right. But I just think that it's, you know, everybody's different. Everybody has to be treated differently. And like the relationship you have with each client is going to be different. They have a different reason for why they're coming to you. And they're all pretty vulnerable. If you're being real with your trainer, they're pretty vulnerable. And I think you should be vulnerable with your trainer. I know that that's not necessarily everybody, but I think as a female trainer that I afford a lot of opportunity for like the emotional side of it because this is your body stores emotions. I read The Body Keeps the Score this year. That was a great book. Told me a
I heard
lot
it's a good
about my
book.
nervous system. Yeah, it's a good audio book if you're open to the audio part. But
I'm open to audio part. Okay.
yeah, I was like, you know, just get it on like your local library Libby app or whatever. But
Mm.
yeah, I think it's, you know, just learning about my body more, learning about others' bodies. Like I can't know what everybody's feeling. I can't create the exact same things. We can't completely change our body into something we want it to look like without willing to make sacrifices in their like outside world. So it's just, I think this year has humanized the personal training experience, and it's been a really great thing because I'm actually really close friends with all my clients now.
Well, big cheers up for like being able to better connect and empathize with other humans and other individuals. I think uh, the world could use a lot more of that and would benefit from such a thing.
Yeah.
Well, Kelly, this leads to the more so to the end of the interview. You've given me and the viewers like a lot of like good insight into both your life and your experience. And once again, something even more important to both your life and experience is your approach, because the people who now get to watch this get to be like, ah, I've heard of CRPS, or I've heard of this. I think I have this hypermobility issue or something like that. And I really hope people who watch this, if Kelly said anything that has resonated with you or you feel like you could benefit from, please reach out to her. I'll be sure to put her contact information in the what do you call it? Not the bio, the about section of this video, just so they can reach out to you. And once again, because my goal is for you to be spotlighted in this, and they should reach out to you if they need help.
Thank
The
you.
last question that I get to ask you is, what would you like to name this episode, since it is your episode?
Um, help me come up with some ideas.
Have become
I
some
was like, right
ideas.
now I'm going with Kelly G. And then I'm also thinking everything that rhymes with that. And her knee.
Kelly
And
G.
PT.
It could be
And
Kelly G and her knee is actually a pretty solid name. I would say like something you could essentially incorporate in there. What I was thinking of, this is me, but I'm very like by the book, very like linear in my approach, my thinking would be like essentially like your nervous system experience would have been like what I would have gone with, but it could be Kelly G and your knee plus your nervous system. Like if you want
what
to
if
make
it's
it
something
that
like Connect with Me and
con
Kelly G?
connect with me,
No,
Kelly G.
no, we could do better
No?
than that.
We can do better than that?
No,
Okay.
we could do better than that. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I do like the nervous system approach, the nervous system thought process.
'Cause that's about the best one that I would have, just because that has been such an integral part of like your life experience thus far. But like once
Yeah.
again, Kelly G and making it rhyme is still pretty hard.
It's like really unnecessary. I would
It's
say I would say, yeah, connecting with your nervous system.
Connecting with your
So
nervous
Kelly
system.
G. Yeah.
Wait, is Kelly G in connecting with your nervous system or connecting with your nervous
I don't
system?
even care. Something along those lines. Pick it up. You pick the order.
I'll pick the order.
Okay. Deal.
Connecting with your nervous system. Boom. Kelly, thank you so much for hopping on this podcast episode with me. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna go ahead and end the recording.